Giants are making history. The team just hired the first ever female coach in Major League Baseball.
The Seattle Kraken have hired Jessica Campbell as the first full-time female assistant coach in NHL history. This is huge.
There is no man that wants to be coached by any woman.
And then it'll be about, I wonder if I can get in her pants. And I'm not saying with all these guys. That's why we need separate spaces and separate environments.
The rapper Mesa isn't too thrilled about the idea of a woman leading a professional men's basketball team. In a recent podcast episode, he admitted, "I'm never in favor of women leading men."
As men, we can't have
they just don't understand.
So there were men, no males, more qualified. Women's hockey really
What a joke.
My first mentor, basically what I was told is I'm a woman, I'm Asian, media is shrinking, media is changing, so you're gonna have a hard time finding a spot. So after that, like maybe it wasn't for me because I was trying to apply as much as I could and I was never getting an opportunity, so I just really had that conflict.
While a male reporter might go up to a male athlete and give them a fist bump, maybe even a pat on the back, as a female reporter, you're not really granted that accessibility. If you did do that, it might be seen as, oh, there's something going on between the two of them. You have to be independent in fact and appearance. You can't do anything that really compromises that. So, breaking that physical boundary, it allows you almost to get closer to that other person. And it's just like in sports, it's very physical. You see it in hockey. Someone scores, you get a tap on the shins or a pat on the butt or a pat on the back, right? And they're creating that bond. And I feel like as a female reporter, maybe those opportunities are not there as much. You had 9 points tonight. How are you feeling, out there being able to see the net, and what was clicking for you?
I just think as an offense, we're moving the ball really well.
One of the challenges I've had where you have to explain the background that you come from being a woman in sports rather than just assuming you have a right to be there. When I was coaching, it was the jokes like, how do you play baseball with long nails? It's like, what do you know about this? I'm like, I've trained for 15 years, like I have played, and it's kind of like sometimes people just see like the tall blonde walking into a sports room and just assume, like, don't necessarily know the background you come from. And I think that's sometimes people making a quick judgment of like, here's what you look like, rather than getting to know, like, here's what your credentials are, here's what you've done, like, here's the training, the education, everything you've put into your background. I've kind of learned to let roll off my back and be like, you don't necessarily need to know, and I'm gonna show you how good I am.
What's up, Laner? We're taking fit check pics. The guys are arriving right now, so I'm waiting for them patiently. Hi, I'm Dana Hong. I am the content creator for the Olympics, and I'm the marketing and advertising assistant for the Vancouver Giants. Hello, how are you?
Slay.
Yep, slay. I've always been surrounded by sports because of my parents, and I think after my figure skating career was when it really picked up that I really wanted to work in sports because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Getting uploaded. As a content creator for the Olympics, I am part of the global team that basically produce any content that goes up on our social media. So, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So I'm part of a lot of different projects, go through archives. There's huge history in the Olympics as well. So it's actually kind of cool to go through like all these really, really ancient times.
Hi everyone, I'm your host Diana Hong, and I'm joined by the two-time Olympic gold medalist, Gina Kingsbury. Welcome to the Olympics channel.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
My colleague sometimes around me like, Diana, don't forget you work for the Olympics. It is a lot of pressure. Definitely the first time I had to post on the Olympics account was really nerve-wracking, but yeah, it's fine because I have a good group of colleagues. I was pretty set on wanting to work in sports. It was really discouraging after my first mentor tell me that I'm never gonna make it, and just, I'm constantly knocking on doors and no one's responding. Like, no responses were really harsh on me, but I did eventually meet mentors who were actually so supportive, gives me chances, and of course I always have to prove myself, and even if you're men and women, you have to do the job. You won't be hired if you can't do the job. So I was lucky enough to have their trust in me. Yeah, I do have great mentors now, fortunately.
If I get a goal video, I go and I edit, and then I post it. And then if they score while I'm editing, then I just get broadcast footage.
Let's go Warriors! Let's go Warriors! Let's go Warriors!
I am Lindsey Horsting, and I'm the editorial writer for the Vancouver Canucks as well as the Vancouver Warriors. I remember the first time that I ever decided that I wanted to work in sports. It was like the 2000 NBA Finals, Los Angeles Lakers versus the Indiana Pacers. I'm watching the broadcast with like Bob Costas, Hannah Storm, Ahmad Rashad, and I'm like, it would be so amazing to be able to work in that space. For me, it wasn't a linear progression. Like I studied business in university, and then I got my professional accounting designation, which is totally the opposite, but yeah, I finally made it here. I went back to school and did my master's in broadcast and digital journalism, and here we are.
So just making notes in this first quarter, the Warriors had their first power play with 5:01 left in the first quarter, and I just made a note of that. Keegan Ball scored. That might be something we talk about in the post-game, just because of the fact that the Warriors have been struggling a little bit. Their power play is 43%. So to be 1 for 1 already so far in this game, that's something to keep an eye on for sure.
I started with MLB, and I was writing game highlights for them, and then shortly thereafter I went to the NBA for a full-time gig doing digital project work. Heavily involved in the WNBA side because I love women's sports, played college basketball myself, so that was really something close to my heart. And then when I came home, I worked at a newspaper on Vancouver Island. That was for about a year. I made my way to Sportsnet 650 for 4 years, and in that time I was able to do sideline reporting for the Vancouver Bandits, which for me felt like my big break because that's what I always saw myself doing. And from Sportsnet, I'm now here with the Canucks for the last couple years.
And I always like to sit beside Steve Ewan every single game because he is my support person, and we have so much fun together at lacrosse games. It's the best.
So I've had a lot of support from other male hosts that I've worked with at Sportsnet 650, also other reporters outside of the Canucks organization. All the outside media really welcomed me in when I started working for the Canucks, and that was really nice, and I've always felt really lucky to have that because obviously not everybody does get that. The one thing I find that is a little challenging sometimes is working with the athletes, and as a female reporter, I definitely feel like with athletes you have to really prove yourself, and going in prepared, it's always a bit of a standoff the first time you ever walk into a room, right? It's like they don't know you, you don't know them, they're like, are they gonna put me on blast? You know, it's kind of a dance you have to do to earn their respect. I've always felt I need to be perfect, my questions have to be crisp and clean. Is it always crisp and clean? No, it's absolutely not. You're striving for perfection. It's never going to be perfect, but I think making sure that your preparation is at 110% goes a long way. Just doing anything that you can just to make sure that they understand that you're in this, you know, to learn about them, you're serious about what you do, especially initially when you're trying to gain that respect.
Yeah, you got a bit of a jump on them, especially in between the first and second quarters. I think they went scoreless for about 16 minutes where you guys really made some ground. What did you like about the first half?
Christian. A lot to like about Christian. Like, he gets the transition going. You know, gets the ball up the floor real quick.
They look like Timbers.
Yeah.
Is that the point?
I think so. Oh yeah, they're just like regular green.
Partner-centric mindset. We are going to hand out an Ingress handout of Booster Juice sunglasses to the first 3,000 fans at tonight's game, since Booster Juice is the game night sponsor. So we're helping out CP today. My name is Lewicki, and I'm a brand specialist at the Vancouver Canucks. I originally thought I was going to play sports. I thought I was going to be the first female MLB player. Quickly realized when I started playing on a boys team that probably wasn't going to happen, but knew when I switched over to softball that I wanted to find a way to be in sports basically for the rest of my life.
He really gave that kid glasses. Look at him. Look how happy he is.
Look at how happy he is. Oh my God, he's going nuts.
I had the opportunity that came up to me when I was in university to work with the Jays, and that was one of those things where I think if it didn't really come up at that time, I probably would have gone down a different route. But I think kind of getting that first job with the Jays and getting so into the nitty-gritty with that organization, that I was like, this is really fun, this is something I want to do, and like, this is worth the grind, because even when it was tough and it was long days, like, I loved every second of it.
During games, not too much for me really. Today it's more post-game with our world's biggest game of Flip Cup. So it's just making sure everything is ready for that. We've got all of our wristbands handed out. If we need to get any extra people, just working with our team to make sure everything's ready to go. So that way once the game's done, we'll head down there and get this game going to Flip Cup. But that's kind of just today. It's more of a post-game work day than anything else.
I also did my postgrad in sports management, where I did an internship at Cosmos Sports and Entertainment, which is kind of where I started to get my first little bit on the sponsorship side. I went from very operational side to more of the business, started to realize that I really do love that side of it, bringing things to life in sports, creating those partnerships between fans, consumers, and teams. And from that, I was an associate manager at Wasserman. Started there as an intern as well too, and then got hired on full-time on their brands consulting team. And that one was insane because some of the brands that Wasserman works with are just the biggest in Canada, the biggest in the world. Really cool to see how sponsorship ties into sports in Canada and how valuable it can be, especially on the women's side. I got to work on some women in sports projects while I was there, which was great because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. And seeing how much like brands want to engage in that space and want to work with these women's teams was awesome, because it kind of added a little bit more push of like, there is a space for women in this industry. So that was awesome to see that come to life in the work I was doing. And after about 2.5 years there, I actually started and took the job at the Canucks and made the move out to Vancouver. And since then have been loving it. I work across the Canucks, the Warriors, Rogers Arena, and Sports Bar. And it's been great because it's such a passionate fan base out here in Vancouver, and seeing the way we've been able to bring these brands to life, the storytelling, leaning into the team, leaning into what it means to the community has been awesome. And it's the way I've grown and learned from this job has been like nothing else I've ever worked at.
It's really hard to flip a cup that's got no water in it and there's no water on the table.
Yeah. Now, I love that Game Press turned the music back on.
The one group is actually making pretty progress.
They cheated. They skipped. Oh, they skipped.
Perfect.
So much.
Inside takes the lead.
When you're not used to seeing something, everyone has those preconceived notions that they think to be true. And until people kind of see something happening over and over and over again, they're gonna think what they're not seeing is the norm. And I think because there wasn't necessarily representation for women in sports for so long, people got so used to the norm being them not being there. So now that you see women in sports more, it's like, whoa, this is new, this is scary, this is challenging the norm that I'm used to. It can't be right. It comes down to it where the more and more we get in front of these things and are involved in this space, I think hopefully the less some of those stereotypes are there, just because you're used to seeing it. It's not gonna be weird to see a girl with long, bright red nails in the sports industry, because that's just what happens. Like, they work in sports, they still do their job. It shouldn't make a difference.
I'd love to see in the future more women in the industry where, they have a space that, young girls could look up to. In sports, we all say like visualization is really key, but really seeing someone like me having a spot in the industry is huge, because without that, I wouldn't be here.
I think I just want to see the trajectory that we're on right now continue. Over the last 5 years, even maybe the last 8 to 10, we've really seen a push in women's sports, and I think that that's great, but also more women, in higher positions in sport. We've got Cami Granato and Emily Castonguay at the Canucks as assistant GMs, and we've got Kim Ng in MLB as the first GM in MLB. All these things that are happening in men's sports and women taking up space, I just want to see that grow, because when that grows, it just lifts the rest of us up, and it's just more commonplace for us to take up space there.
When you asked me earlier, like, did I have any hesitations about kind of wanting to dive in? And part of that goes into like, how am I going to be perceived? Will I be able to succeed? Will there be opportunities for me? I'm kind of hoping that in the future, like that isn't a barrier that women want to hold themselves back from, because they know they have a place, they know they have the opportunity, and it's not a, is there space for me, but more of a, which space am I going to take up? I think my biggest piece of advice is, at the end of the day, just believe in yourself and kind of block out what you hear from other people.
Never give up. Like, don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it, because like if you have the passion for it, always you'll find the ways.
Take up space unapologetically. Know that you have your own unique skill set that you bring to the table that nobody else has, and just like stand in your power in that.
Listening to yourself, because at the end of the day, no one knows what you're capable of other than yourself, and just putting your head down, doing the work, and acknowledging your wins along the way, because keeping those wins in the back pocket to remember makes it so much easier when people tell you no, that you're like, no, I've already done this, I can do this, and I'm going to accomplish that much more.
Things are trending in the right direction, but in some really important ways, not much has changed. The issue is this: we do not treat women's sports like sports. We treat them like a charity. To get where we want to go, the path forward is so incredibly simple. We just have to treat women's sports like sports.
When you think of last year, my goodness, what a year it's been for women's sports. I mean, we saw record viewership, record attendance numbers. People really showed up.
Yeah. I'd also love to see some more gender parity, though, when it comes to coaching and commentators and analysts and behind the scenes stuff.